This week on ReEntry Stories.
I actually got my GED when I was in prison. I helped 21 gangbangers get their GED as well.
I'm Mary Evans. In this season of ReEntry Stories, we explore injustices within the criminal justice system and hear from exonerees who are reclaiming their lives. Support for ReEntry Stories comes from the Montgomery County Office of Reentry and the Eichelberger Center for Community Voices at WYSO. Robert McLendon from Columbus spent nearly 2 decades in prison for a crime he didn't commit. He explains how the combined efforts of the Ohio Innocence Project and the Columbus Dispatch helped pave the way for his release.
Okay, my name is Robert McLendon. I am a exoneree. I was convicted of a rape and kidnap in 1990. I served 18 years in prison, and I was eventually gained my freedom with the help of the Columbus Dispatch and Ohio Innocence Project in 2008, in August 2008.
How did you find out about the Ohio Innocence Project?
Um, the Ohio Innocence Project and the Columbus Dispatch were working in a joint effort together. They realized that guys were filing for DNA testing and was being denied by the courts. So in a joint venture, they went through all of the institutions and tried to get the 30 most prominent cases. Mine was one of those. And when they came to interview me, they were very impressed with me, and they the Ohio Innocence Project and the Columbus Dispatch focused on my case a lot.
And what was it like during your incarceration while you were fighting for your freedom?
Um, in prison, you find yourself or you lose yourself. I was fighting for my case. And when I wasn't fighting for my case, I actually got my GED when I was in prison. And after I got my GED, I helped 21 young guys get their GED as well. So it was difficult. I think the difficult part for me was loss. I lost my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather, and 3 uncles. And my mother it was very difficult with my mother because she was on hospice, and I was talking to her every other day until she passed. I had a lot of support from family and friends. My daughter brought my grandkids down. I have 4 grandkids, and 3 of them actually grew up coming to see me while I was in prison. So that was important. So the support was there, and that helped a lot. Getting visits and getting phone calls in prison, it really helped me.
And then can you walk me through what the exoneration process looks like? I think, and the reason why I ask this is because a lot of people think that once someone says, okay, well, you're wrongfully convicted, we messed up, that it's essentially over and then everything's done and finished. So could you tell us a little bit about your experience with the exoneration process?
With the exoneration process, for one, is I think people need to understand, Mary, is the Ohio Innocent Project are not like traditional lawyers. They don't come aboard for guys like, well, guys will say, well, are you innocent? Well, they got me, but they don't got me right. No, either you're innocent or you're guilty. The Innocent Project only comes aboard after you have exhausted all of your appeals and you have maintained your innocence all along. They will send you a 25 questionnaire that you have to fill out on your own. And any time during the process that they found out that you have lied or deceived them, they will stop. They won't deal with you anymore. So they only go for people that are truly innocent. A lot of people have misconceived expectations of the Innocent Project. A lot of people think that they help any and everybody. No, they help only the people that are innocent. And those are mainly cases that are like murder and rape. Every now and then there may be a robbery or home invasion, but generally the cases that they work on consist of mostly murder and rapes.
You had mentioned DNA being the turning point for your opportunity to be free. So what was so impactful about DNA at that time? Was it something that hadn't been used before, or they didn't have the technology for it? Can you explain a little bit about that too?
Yes, it was in its infancy. I think the case with OJ really brought it into the forefront. Believe what you want to believe about OJ. He was found innocent, and I think a lot of the innocence was due to Barry Scheck and Peter Moorfield, making the evidence, the DNA evidence, clear to and understandable to the jury. After that case, DNA became so popular to the point where everybody was writing into Barry Scheck. And that's how he founded the Innocent Project. It was founded basically based on the OJ case. And that's why all of the schools start, and all of the states and cities start forming their own Innocent Project. I think there's only maybe 2 states now that don't have it, an Innocent Project. But in my case, I knew that there was DNA evidence, okay, but they only did it with the ultralight thing, and I guess because of my case, because it was older, that they didn't have the technology to effectively look at my case. When the technology became a little bit more better, I kept found for DNA, and then they came up with another technique which was way more detail oriented, and that's what helped me get out.
Do I really know the history of Ohio?
Hi, I'm Nina Ellis.
And I'm Chris Welter.
That was Chief Glenna Wallace from the Eastern Shawnee Tribe of Oklahoma, speaking on WYSO's new podcast, The Ohio Country.
If you haven't listened to all 12 episodes yet, you can find The Ohio Country wherever you get podcasts.
And if you have listened, please rate and review The Ohio Country on Apple Podcasts so more people can find it. Thanks.
And then can you tell me a little bit about like how it was for you to transition after being incarcerated so long and returning back to the community?
It was difficult. I think if you ask every exoneree, they're going to name different things. For me, it was technology. I remind people that I was out when they had cell phones, okay? A lot of people say, yeah, I was. But the technology was very difficult for me, Mary, because I remember going to Walmart and I went to the restroom. And when I came out to wash my hands, I didn't see no knob. Okay. So I put my hand up under the sink, around the sink, and I started looking. And then a guy came in and he put his hands under the faucet. And that's when I realized, hey, I've been gone way too long, because I didn't realize, I never saw a sink where you just put your hands up under, much less the paper towel thing. When the guy puts his hands up to the paper towels and the paper towels start moving, I say, hey, is that magic? So technology was very difficult for me. And I think it was with others as well.
And do you still have some difficulties to this day? You've been home how long?
I've been home 15 years now.
So these 15 years of still transitioning and still trying to be a productive member of the community or society, as they call it, is there any other barriers or any other kind of trials that you might face or that you have
There's
faced?
there are conditions that we all face. We found that all exonerees have some form of PTSD. Okay, I didn't realize it, but when I did realize it, I found out what my triggers were. Everyone have different triggers. I'm just going to talk about mine. I have trust issues, commitment issues. Uh, I don't like anyone to tell me what to do. So authority issues. I like the night more than the day because the night was taken away from me. In prison, you're locked down, you well know, before dark. Okay, so you don't get to go out to the walk and see the moon and the stars or anything like that. So I seem to have more peace at nighttime than I do with daytime. I don't like standing in lines, and I'm very, very picky about. I don't like being in really, really crowded places. Okay, and I'm very, very picky about what I eat. Certain foods I will not eat. I don't wear white clothes hardly ever because they wanted to make us wear white underwear in there all the time, and I was grandfathered in, so I had my own underwear, different colored underwear. So it's a lot of different issues that you have where people have PTSD. Some are more severe. I don't think it's like we got like for Cocoa Pops, but there are certain triggers. I know that some of the guys get triggered by people talking aggressive to them, people talking authoritative to them. They don't like police officers, they don't like correctional officers, or they don't like masculine women.
How hard was it for you to like secure housing or secure employment when you first came home?
Um, it wasn't difficult for me. Um, I was actually offered a job uh, at Mercedes dealership, but I turned it down because after doing 18 years in prison, Mary, I did not want to work nowhere. So I did a lot of speaking engagements that kept me really busy with OIP, which I'm thankful for that. So I did not want to work a traditional job. Okay. And I haven't worked a traditional job. I kind of dedicated my life to OIP. And I don't think, speaking for myself, I worked for the city of Parks and Recreation before I came to prison. And I think I just didn't want to work a traditional job. And so far, I haven't had to do that. And I'm glad because it's left me open to do the work for OIP.
That's amazing. And so you guys were just at a conference in New Orleans, and it's like
Yeah.
a national it's a national collaboration and community of folks who have been wrongfully convicted throughout the nation. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about what happens at those conferences and why those kinds of conferences are so important?
They're very, very important, Mary, because each conference that I've gone to has gotten larger. This last conference that we went to, there were over almost 500 exonerees there and 100 new exonerees. And now we're meeting exonerees from different countries, from Italy, from Spain, from Canada. It's just amazing that you see how the injustice is worldwide. I think all of the laws, the courts are different in different countries, but in terms of the evidence and how they comply evidence, it's all the same, especially when it comes to DNA. So it was I think the one in New Orleans was my favorite one in terms of how they blocked off the street, had a parade and band for us. How we went and ate on a big boat, ship, or whatever you call it, and just the interaction with different groups of people. We had sessions where they had relationship sessions, sessions about finances, sessions about what to do if you want to start a business, and just meeting different people and talking to different people there. It's one of the best experiences that I experience every time I get out. I mean, when I go, I never miss them. That and coming home, and that and going to court when a guy is getting out of prison, and we all huddle together and go to court to support his family when they get out. I think that's important too.
How many exonerees have you been able to support since you've been home these last 15 years?
Almost all of them. There are 42 exonerees in Ohio. And I know that I think I know most of them, but maybe one or two. And I've been to every Innocence conference, but maybe twice. I think they had their first Innocent conference in 2010 or 11. I've been to all of them but two. So we have a really close knit of exonerees in the Cleveland area. And I think we have 3 in Columbus. Most of them come from the Cleveland area because the prosecution and the laws and the court system in Cleveland are just horrible.
So you talk about there's 43 exonerees just in the state of Ohio. How many of them are from Franklin County?
4.
And do you guys have like a close community? Do you talk to these individuals, or do you guys have a great relationship? What's that like?
We do. Richard Horton lives 7 minutes from me, and Alan Butts lives up around the 161 area. We interact with each other weekly. There's another guy who I think I should tell you that some of these guys, when they get out, they choose to go their own ways, and that's fine, because I can't determine what freedom is for people. For me, I'm grateful that OIP got me out, and I'm here to do anything I can to help. Other people feel like, hey, I'm out and I want to go my own way and do my own thing. And I have no problem with that. Now, we have the one guy, I can't think of his name right off. He chose to do that. We see him every now and then, but most of the time he wants to stay to himself and do his own thing, which is fine. So, but me, Alan Butts, and Richard Horton are very close, and we talk at least once or twice a week.
And that has to be really important to continue to have that kind of sense of community with folks who have a relatable experience that
Yes.
you have.
Yes.
That's amazing. That's truly amazing. So what are like some of your goals and dreams as far as helping others in the judicial system who might be experiencing a wrongful conviction? Do you have any thoughts of like maybe starting your own organization, or will you always just help the Ohio Innocence Project, or is there other outreach work that you do for folks that are fighting wrongful convictions?
Everything with me starts and ends with the Ohio Innocence Project. I think that because I've been out, I'm one of the longest ones that's been out, me and Dean Gillespie, that we are kind of like the OGs. So we our job is to help transition these guys when they get out, to tell them some of the things that they're going to be going through with money, finances, relationships, family. I've gone through a lot. Dean is beginning to go through a lot right now. And a lot of people think that when you get out of prison, it's all peaches and cream. It's not, because you have a new set of issues that you have to deal with, especially if you're getting money. And so I'm there to help them. A lot of these guys come out with issues, anxiety issues. Some have extreme PTSD issues. And the other attention deficit disorder, those issues as well. So they have our numbers. They call us. We talk to them, and they trust us. One thing about us is we trust is very important to us. Okay, trust and respect and loyalty is very important to exonerees because we feel that it's more important than love. OIP cannot give you advice on what to do with your money and how to handle your money. Okay, or what kind of attorney to get. They're not. But me and Dean can. And because we have the trust of our brothers and sisters, we have served them well in regards to telling them what to do, how to say no. Okay. I'm a recovering yes man. I had to learn to say no. My family took me through it. I'm telling you. So, and it's important because we all love our family, and our family is going to be the first one with their hands out when you get out, and you have to learn to. I've always tell people all the time that you have to be limited to giving because takers are not limited to taking. Okay. And that means learning how to say no and meaning it. So we're there. I have a guy by the name of Chris Smith who's here now. He's transitioning to Columbus. He just got a job at a car dealership. And he's been out. He did like 11 years in prison. And he's getting ready to get his compensation. He's going through a breakup with a girlfriend. And so he decided to transition here in Columbus. And he just got hired a few days ago at a dealership. And we're trying to find him, get him a place. So this is how we help people. No ulterior motives, no hidden agendas. We don't roll like that.
That's amazing. So you had mentioned money. So I know with some of these wrongful convictions, there's usually a chance and an opportunity to file a civil suit. Can you tell us a little bit about that process and what you have faced and any kind of challenges you might have encountered while filing the civil suit?
Every exoneree's financial situation is different depending on how long they did, if they worked, or what kind of attorneys that they had. I think I've done well with my situation. I was awarded $2.5 million and $200,000 from the city. Some people get more, some people get less. If you hire an attorney's going to get a third of your money, straight up. So we try to tell them to stick with this old saying: dance with the girl that you brought to the party. OIP got you out. Trust them and deal with them. But everyone's different. Some people are talked into going other ways with different attorneys. There's been some horror stories with some exonerees. Some horror stories. We can't talk about them, but there have been some horror stories. And I found that some guys have to be put on budgets from their family. Some people have to be saved from themselves. And this money has to last us for the rest of our lives. I didn't get to pay into retirement or Social Security. When you get out, a lot of these guys do not have no health insurance. I didn't have any health insurance. A lot of these guys don't have no Social Security, and because it's not addressed. It's not addressed, Mary. You literally have to, whatever money you get, you better be very, very frugal with it because it has to last you for the rest of your life. There's some of the young guys that get out, they go buck wild where they get their money. There's been some horror stories about guys getting out and getting loans from companies, and the companies come back and say 400% interest, And so we try to help them as much as we can by giving them advice, but everybody's different. Some people don't even get money. You know, in some states, you don't get money. And some situations are different when you get out. But if you're lucky enough and fortunate enough to get money, you better spend it very, very well and very, very wisely. That's why a lot of people, when they get out, they still get jobs and work.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that. I've been talking to a few exonerees because this season, that's what I'm exploring. And I found out that when you're in that process, that you're not even eligible for benefits or assistance. And I've also found that there's a lot of resistance within our government, the Attorney General's office and stuff like that, that kind of put blockades on the
They do.
civil to, they're essentially the ones who have helped aid in your conviction. And then they say, hey, we got it wrong. And then when you want to be compensated, because like you said, those could have been, years that you could have been in the workforce development area. That's years you could have been paying into retirement and paying into a healthcare system. And to not be reimbursed for those things, I think is just kind of like still another injustice, if you will. I know that there's some exonerees that I've interviewed that have been fighting for over a decade for
Oh, yeah.
their civil suit money. So I just wondered what that process looked like for you.
Even worse, if you get out and you get in trouble. We have a guy in Akron who went to prison when he was like 16, got out when he was 21. He was supposed to get some money. He got himself into some trouble. We don't even know if he's going to get his money.
Oh.
So there's just, they don't want to give you anything. They're going to fight tooth and nail not to give you anything. That's why you have to have, I want to deal with the same people that got me out to fight for me for my money. And that's what we try to do. We try to tell guys, you better stay home.
Yeah, loyalty is everything, especially when you have a big support system like the Ohio Innocence Project. I guess my last question for this interview is if you had
Yes.
any advice for anyone who might be in a situation where they hear this on the radio, they're incarcerated, and they're fighting a wrongful conviction. They know for a fact they didn't do it, but they're behind those walls. What kind of advice would you give them to not give up and to push forward?
The first thing I would tell them is that when you go to prison, you lose everything but hope and faith. And those are the two things that you got to hold on to when you know that you did not do it. And even people, and I need to say this to people who are in prison, because there's all kind of injustices, because we know that the criminal justice system will over indict you and give you more time than what you deserve. You still have to fight. Okay. It's just not for the freedom. My message is it's not just for people who are innocent. It's for people who are go to prison. Some of the best people I met in prison were people that did their crime, but they're not criminals. Okay. They changed their lives. So my message is for everyone is to don't give up, because people get out, such as you, and turn their lives around. I don't think it's fair to put everybody under the same umbrella in prison, that they're bad. No, I believe the worst people in prison for me has been liars and thieves. Okay, for me. But for one, you cannot give up. You have to get in contact with the Ohio Innocent Project. You can pass my number or Dean's number to anyone. Me and Dean has been involved in one case where we actually helped the guy get out of prison on our own. His name was Jerry Rivas, I believe his name, Jerry Rivas. He did 31 years in prison, and me and Dean helped him get out. So you can pass my number and my information on, and I would try to help people or direct them to the right people. And that means for people who claim that they didn't do it, or people who need help with their appeals or need a good attorney, I'm there to help them.
And you say Dean, as in Dean Gillespie, he's someone who I've previously interviewed and I've been in art exhibitions with. So if you guys are doing all this powerful work, when are you guys going to go to law school and actually become attorneys yourself? Is that a thought or something you've thought about, or do you think the education and experience that you have right now is good enough and that you don't think
I,
that you want to go to law school?
that's a great question, Mary. You know what? I feel I got a degree from being around all these students, people like you who who are smart and wise. I feel I have a life degree, where I can tell people who are on some bull crap, and I tell the truth and I'm honest. Um, I think what we do is similar to like life coaches, telling people the right things in life to do. And I think a life degree is just as powerful as a college degree for me. I mean, I've been in rooms for people that are way smarter and way brighter that have the degrees, but they look at me with respect, you know, and that's all I can ask for.
Right. I mean, there's 1,000 more Mary Evanses out there in the world. I tell people that all the time. Um, but education was kind of like my freeing point. For me,
Yes.
that was something that because if you don't know, you don't know. And
Right.
there are certification programs for life support coaches. And I mean, you and Dean Gillespie should think about that and maybe be like a sub consultant for the Ohio Innocence Project and do that kind of stuff because I know one of the most impactful things I could have had transitioning besides my education was mentorship. Being around
Yeah.
people who had relatable lived experiences myself, who were already successful, and that could help guide me into being my own. And I know that mentorship it was like one of the most amazing resources, and I still utilize them today, even
It
though
is.
in some people's eyes I'm successful or whatever. I still feel like I have so much more growing to do, and so I still have mentors, male and female, who are
Right.
still guiding me to this day. So just throwing that out there, an idea.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. Of course, if you're doing a life sentence, you can't go to college in there because if you're doing a life sentence, what you need to go to college for? So I did read 400 some books when I was in there. But you are right. And you know what? That's another conversation we need to have about that too. I'm going to talk to Dean about that because you can always get a higher educate yourself more. And if doing that will help us get to another level, I'm for it.
I think that would be monumental to not only the wrongfully convicted returning systems, system impacted individuals' life as they return. I think it'd be monumental for you and Mr. Dean Gillespie to be the moving force behind mentorship for wrongfully convicted individuals, especially in Ohio. I know that the Ohio Innocence Project provides some services, but to actually have, individuals that are boots on the ground, willing to walk
Yeah,
that pathway out with you, I think that would be I mean, like I said, it would just be I feel like you would be doing your guys' self a disservice by not even just thinking about that opportunity and seeing what that might look like. Because I know that there's probably 1,000 people sitting in these 28 correctional institutions that set within the state of Ohio, that probably should not be there and that will return to people who have written them off and don't have family. They don't even know what to do, where to go. And so I think that it would be powerful to see you and Dean in that capacity to be able to provide that service.
that's ever even brought that up, you know? And that really, I mean, I guess people probably haven't brought it up because they already think that this is what we do or this is what we want to do or because we give a lot of advice to the students and things like that. So no one has ever even brought this question up about getting further education. There's a guy in California who's doing this thing who did that, went back now. He's a lawyer. So I'm glad you brought that up. I'm definitely going to talk to Dean about that. And I think we're going to have further conversations as well, if we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our time's almost up. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experience with me and being vulnerable. Trauma-informed interviews are not always easy,
Right.
especially when we're talking about these sensitive subjects as injustice and wrongful convictions and the carceral system and the trauma that's enforced in you when you're inside there. I think people think that it's a place for rehabilitation and correction, but you essentially have to do that stuff yourself. And you have to just you got to stay the race. You have to stay in it, and you have to see it through. And I think a lot of times people want to give up, and so I just want to say thank you. And it's very admirable that you did not give up and that you are out here and that you are actually helping other individuals that should not be inside the prison walls. retain their freedom and give them guidance. And I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do. And I'm thankful for the Ohio Innocence Project and all you guys for this opportunity.
And thank you so much. Okay. And thank you for the work that you do, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
That was Robert McLendon, and I'm Mary Evans. Support for ReEntry Stories comes from the Montgomery County Office of ReEntry and the Eichelberger Center for Community Voices at WYSO.